Welcome to Eternal Paradigm. Together we're uncovering the human experience and exploring physical, mental, emotional and spiritual stories with me, your host, Urmi Raval. Hi guys, welcome to this episode of Eternal Paradigm. I hope you're enjoying your journey to find you. So, I start the episode by saying, I hope you're enjoying your journey to find you. Well, someone recently pointed out to me that in every episode, I seem to say it. They asked me if it was like just a recorded piece that I put into every episode. And I had to explain to them, no, I actually start every episode saying this the way that I do. So now that we've cleared that up, I'm sure you were all kind of sitting on the edge of your seats wanting to know. But so now that that's all cleared up, so I just wanted to let you know it's just you and me in this episode. I don't have a guest for you in this episode. And there are reasons for that, which I won't go into. So really, yeah, it's just you and me. But that's okay, because I'm really excited to share with you what is happening, what has been happening. So quick update, March has been a very busy month, right? And it's been really interesting. And so, March, spring, clocks have gone forward. Lots of different things have been happening. Excitedly, kids went back to school in the UK. So that was like one thing. And, now we're heading over into Easter. There's just so much stuff happening. And I guess I should also put it out there that this is a interesting time, and this wasn't actually something I was going to talk about on a podcast episode, but I am going to put it out there because it's a reality for so many of us in terms of where we're at globally. So on Sunday, on the 4th of April, which is also Easter Sunday, it's actually going to be a year since my dad passed away. And I mean this genuinely from the bottom of my heart. I genuinely didn't think that I was actually going to use the podcast as a space to talk about this. But it seems apt, and it just feels like an opportunity has come up, and that's what needs to be said. So I don't know if you can remember as far back to a year ago. It was very early stages of the pandemic. There was no real clarity or certainty as to what was going on, apart from the fact that was absolutely known, and that was that people with underlying health conditions were totally more at risk. And my dad became one of those people. At that point, it was very harsh. It was very difficult. And he was just a number, right? You watch the news and there are just numbers. And we know that each number is a person, and each person is connected to a family, and they have loved ones who ache. And so it was quite a difficult time. So a year ago, I was woken up at 4 o'clock in the morning with a phone call to say that my dad wasn't responding. And we knew he had been unwell. But what had also happened is we didn't think that he was not going to make it. But alas, as the situation was, he was an elderly gentleman of an Asian background with underlying health conditions. And the truth of the reality is very simple. At the beginning of the pandemic, when no one knew neither head nor tail, that he just was never going to be a priority, just like all of those others at the beginning of the pandemic who weren't. And that's a really hard pill to swallow, because I say this and I share this with you because this story is not just mine. I know too many people who have been through the same. And last year, I spoke to so many of these people, and I was still one of the lucky ones, because my dad didn't go into hospital. He passed away at home. He wasn't in a place where we couldn't see him. We could video call him and see what was happening. But towards the end, he was delirious. And there was no need or reason for him to be taken anywhere, to be looked after. And maybe that was as it was supposed to be. So we're coming into a year, and grief is such a big topic, and so many of us really feel grief and loss. And I didn't really want this to be the focus of this episode. And I think it's really important for me to kind of put out there that my reason for sharing this with you is because many of you who potentially listen to this podcast, you may know me. And you probably knew my dad too. And I just felt that I wanted him to be a part of this. So I've brought him here. And so now I want to kind of move on from here in terms of where we are. And this episode's going to be aired hopefully at the end of March. And we're heading into April. And like I said, the beginning of April is a little bit tough, but it is what it is. And my heart goes out to every family who is grieving, who's experienced loss, and this uncertainty, and just the not being able to be together in solidarity at these times. It was tough. And I go back to this, and I said I was moving on, but just even my dad's funeral was quite possibly very lonely. However, I want to bring it back to the episode, which I'm going to do now. And moving on from a really difficult place, I want to move into where things are at now and where things are going. And so I am actually quite excited to announce the launch of a new series, which launches next week. And, in the episodes for this series, I am exploring creativity as a human experience. Now, creativity is very important to me, okay? Because I may have said this before, and I say it again, it's actually our default mechanism. We're conditioned into believing that you are either logical, or you are creative, or you are scientific, or you're mathematical. And actually, that's a load of rubbish, okay? People have inclinations, right? Which you kind of naturally veer towards, but ultimately we are all creative by default. I say this because I know this, and so do you, right? And so the whole kind of series on creativity, keep a lookout on social media and on the Facebook page and Instagram, and all the updates on what is happening in these episodes is going to be shared with you. And I'm really, really excited. And I guess having the segue of me talking about my dad, kind of talking to you guys, launching into the creativity series, I guess it just was supposed to be this way. My dad was an incredibly larger than life character, and he had a lot of creative flair. He was this guy that would get up and command rooms with his comedy and his incredible cinematic dialogues. For anyone who's a Bollywood fan, my dad was a hardcore Bollywood fan, and he had this kind of enigma, this charm about him. And so I guess the showman in him allowed me and my siblings from a very young age to have access to this world of creatives and actors and people who were like poets and incredibly expressive people who were so connected and fueled by their emotions and their purpose. And that's like amazing, okay? And that is where the creativity series kind of comes from. So for me, A, it's a default mechanism for all of us. B, I grew up in this immensely creativity-fueled bubble. And C, every time I've had challenges or ups and downs with my mental health, creativity has been my default mechanism. And just like it is for many of us, finding that is what makes all the difference, and reconnecting with that's absolute greater purpose. So before I kind of head off, I also want to give you a few more updates on things that are happening, okay? So if you have signed up have you joined the Facebook group is the question, okay? Have you? That's the question mark. And if you haven't, that's cool. Have a look, search it up on Facebook. It's the Eternal Paradigm podcast group. Obviously, there's the Facebook page and there's Instagram. So whichever way you want to connect with me, I am absolutely ready and willing to connect, to hear your thoughts, to hear your views, to hear, what you have to say. Let me know. I'm all open for listening. So that's about the episode. And now I just want to, you can see this episode is totally all over the place, right? Because this is actually not what I had planned. It's just kind of happened this way. So on the next thing, right, I am really excited to announce. So apart from the creativity series, which launches next week, I also have updates for the Eternal Paradigm website. So watch this space for that. That's all happening and it's going to be great, amazing. Another way that we can be connected and stay in tune. So I'm very, very excited about that. And before I go on to the questions that I want to ask you about the creativity series, I just want to give you a list of some of the books that I've been reading. And I want to know what you've been reading. I'd love to know what you've been reading. So I'm currently reading The Body's Wisdom and The Body Knows the Score, which have been amazing. And then obviously I'm rereading The Chimp Paradox because I recently had a thing with the Olympian, Mark Colburn, and he was amazing, absolutely amazing to work with and listen to. And he reminded me of how good The Chimp Paradox is. So I thought I'd give it a reread again and see how much of my chimp brain I've really managed to conquer. I'm also halfway through reading Natives, Race and Class in the Ruins of the Empire, which is by Akala. Guys, he is the legend. Also on my reading list, I've got Feel to Heal, which is for anyone who knows me through coaching practice or breathing work. It's about releasing trauma through the body and how breathwork works with that, because that's my thing, being a breathwork guide. I don't really talk about my day job, but at some point it will come about. You can hear me kind of shuffling books around. I have this amazing collection of books here, right? So they're called the Pocket Change Collective, and I really recommend these. I think they're fantastic. One is called Imaginary Borders. The next one is called The New Queer Conscience, and then Beyond the Gender Binary. Okay. Amazing books. And you know what? I'll put pictures of these up on socials, but if you want to know more, just drop me an email. I'm more than happy to talk books. The Biology of Belief, guys. Bruce Lipton. Oh, actually, I was at a seminar with him just the other week. Brilliant. I have been gifted The Soul's Plan. Now, this is discovering the real meaning of the life you planned before you were born. Have you read this one? I want to know what you think. And then I have Mind to Matter and Think Like a Tree, which I've is sitting here, but I have already read it. And these are just the books that I have on my desk. I haven't actually gone into the books that I have in my Audible or Kindle. So are you like that as well? Do you have books on Audible and Kindle and then actual books? Because that's kind of how I roll. Oh, Matthew Side's Rebel Ideas. I love rereading that one because it always gives me different perspectives on things. Yeah, so I really want to know what you're reading. I feel like I've got a few more that I haven't. Oh, yes, I have actually. There are a few more books that I've got upstairs near my bed that I haven't actually added to the list. So let me know what you're reading and I will happily share on socials what I've got happening. And now, before I kind of round up and stop talking, the other thing that I kind of wanted to ask you is I'm going to bring you back to the creativity series now. And in line with the creativity series, I'm going to ask you a few questions for you to kind of start thinking. So I seem to have left a lot of questions for you guys here. Firstly, what books are you reading? Then number 2 is, are you like me and do you have books, Kindle and Audible? It can get pretty heavy. And these are the questions that I'm asking you now related to the creativity series. So what is your creative expression? What is it? What does it look like? Have you worked it out yet? And do you know what flow state is? And how do you feel when you enter your flow state? that feeling is just amazing, you know. And let me ask you another question. And this is the last one for this episode, okay? What does creativity mean to you? Because that's a big question that I am asking in this series, okay? What does creativity mean to you? Because it actually means different things to different people. And that's why I'm covering it in the context of a series, because it's all a part of our human experience, and it shows up on a physical level, on an emotional level, on a spiritual level, and on, what's the other level that I have? Physical, emotional, spiritual, and mental. There we go. So guys, I just want to say thank you for your continuous support by listening and feedback, comments, your support on social media. It really is invaluable, and I am just truly and phenomenal, amazed by the commitment that I have from listeners, and it just blows me away. And I'm also grateful for my guests who are truly and incredibly amazing and allow me to really ask them questions, and often many of them are stepping out of their comfort zone, and you'll see this in the creativity series. And the fact that they're willing to step out of their comfort zone and speak to me so openly and honestly is just incredible. So on that note, I am going to sign off because I have done a lot of talking now. Okay, so lots of love and light, and I will catch up with you next week. I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Eternal Paradigm. Join me next time.